All right. So the link is up there. If you're looking to connect, it's bit.ly/GAFE-publish. So Google Apps for Education publish. And some different ways that you can get in touch with me. Probably the best social media platform for me is Google+. But everything I publish publicly on Google Plus does go out to Twitter, and I do get notifications from that account if that's your main tool. What I hope to do is to go through why blog as classroom teachers, go through some of the myths and facts around blogging, and talk about how we can use it to connect to parents and families and students, and then we'll get into the how-to, and everybody here in the room with me, and hopefully those of you out there, will leave today with classroom blog set up. So for the people in the room, don't feel that you can't interrupt me just because this is live to air. Okay? You're my primary audience. This is going to be on YouTube, and I'm going to break this apart later into chunks so people can skip and fast forward. Okay? So, in the room, anybody reading blogs on a regular basis?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, a few, okay. Anybody have a blog?
I started one, but I want to learn to add faster.
Okay, sure enough. So, anybody else connecting Facebook, Twitter, Google Plus to parents' community? Yes? So, have the accounts, but not necessarily putting out to...
I'm putting out publicly on Twitter,
yeah.
Focusing on like educational content, that sort of thing, and have made my Twitter identification accessible, like so parents know about it. But I don't have any parents following me. They've been invited to.
Fair enough, and that's one of the things. I think blogging is a really low barrier way to get into communicating with parents and their families. I'm just going to check in here. Daniel, is my screen coming up for you? Like you're seeing my presentation? Daniel, Eugene, Wendy, anybody out there?
I can see your presentation fine and clear.
Okay, perfect. Thanks. Okay, so this is something that I do in bigger audiences. I'm not going to do it here, but what I want to be able to show you is that with the Blogger app, you can really quickly go from your phone to your blog in a matter of seconds. And with iOS, with Android, they've got fantastic speech to text. So you don't even have to type out the blog post. You can do it all by voice and using your phone to add pictures. Super easy, super fast. So why blog for you as teachers? Number one, it's easy. I find some of the LMS systems out there, like Moodle, like D2L, fairly complex. And I think that we have enough on our plates. I want to keep your job as easy as possible. It's also really fast to do. At the end of the day, you can take 5 minutes, you can say what you did in class today, what the homework is, and fire that off to parents, and they're super thrilled with you. For your students, it really helps them in terms of classroom management connect to what you're doing. If you think of Moodle or D2L or some of those things, they have to navigate through that space to find what you're actually focused on for today's lesson. When you're using a blog, whatever you're doing right now sits at the top of the blog, so it's really easy to find. A blog can be a really simple classroom management routine. So it doesn't matter where you go online and what tools and resources you're using. If your students know that they always start at the blog, then you can use that address to push out or direct them to other resources online. But then they only have to type in one address, or better yet, bookmark your blog as their starting point, and they know that from there they can find everything else they want to use. Feel free to interrupt anytime. For our students, some of the most recent research in Canada indicates that we have about 99% penetration in terms of internet access for students who are going to school. Yes, there is a digital divide, but it's actually more so among older people in lower income brackets. Even in lower income families, they tend to have mobile devices. So they might not have high-speed internet at home, but chances are somebody in the home has a cell phone and can get text messages or can get email from there. So blogging allows you to get to that device really quickly and really easily. Look at that. It's like I planned that remark. So that research came out of Media Smarts, and the links are there. Really interesting reading if you want to follow up on that. Yeah, and you want to be reaching as wide an audience as possible. That's my philosophy anyway, is to make your classroom practice more transparent so that parents and colleagues, your administrator, have a better understanding of what's happening there, and it opens up conversations. Ideally, we want to change this conversation from this to this, so that parents and guardians know exactly what's happening in your class, and they can engage with your students about what's going on. Kind of frustrating for students. I've had those conversations where they tell me they're really upset with me because their mom knows everything they do in class all day. But the flip side of that is that at parent-teacher night, I get so many thank yous from parents who are thrilled with knowing what's happening in the classroom. Couple other things to think about. Twitter is really popular among educators, but if you want to be where Canadian families are, there's actually way more people on Facebook. I'm not saying go to Facebook, but I'm saying know your audience and find out where they're at, because that's the most important place that you can put your content from your classroom.
If you have a personal Facebook account and then you wanted to create a classroom Facebook account,
Yep.
Could you help us with that?
Yes.
And
So
can we manage, do you know what I mean, how on Facebook you can manage like user groups or different from your personal?
So what you can do, and one of the resources that I've shared on the step-by-step instructions, at the very bottom of it, there's a link for how to push your blog content to Twitter, to Google+, and to Facebook. And the trick is setting up a Facebook page and then playing around with the settings so that you don't have students and parents commenting on that Facebook page. So we probably won't get to that today, but if anybody wants help on that, the resources are there, and you can definitely get in touch with me, and I'll help you out with that. I guess the other note on that is, the thing about blogging is it's a really transportable format, that it can go from the blog to other platforms, so that you're only writing that content one time and then have it automatically picked up by Twitter or Facebook or Pinterest or whatever tool you happen to want to use. So what's a blog? Technically, I guess the easiest way to explain it is it's like an online journal, but it's in reverse chronological order. So whatever you've done most recently appears at the top or at the front of the book. So instead of flipping towards the end of the book to find out what's most recent. You can really manipulate it to be whatever you'd like. And these are just some of the different uses that parents have, that teachers have made for blogs. Sometimes the question comes up, well, how is a blog different than a website? And the answer is it's really not. A blog is a specific format of website, and it's one that I think is really easy to use, but there's no clear distinction between them. It's just the format of the website. Kindergarten and primary students are some of the they have the parents who are sometimes happiest with blogging, because sometimes initiating those conversations about what happened in school today with little people is kind of tough, and they may not have the words to get started in saying what's going on in their classroom. So it can be a really good spot for parents to go and say, oh, I heard from your teacher, that you were exploring in the math center today. Can you tell me what you did? Can you show me what you did? So a really fantastic use of them. Even as students get older, it's a fantastic communication hub. It can be used to teach organization skills. I found with students with special needs, it was a great accommodation because, you know what, instead of having them needing to manage the agenda, I just published the blog and they subscribed, and then notes, resources, due dates, etc. all went to them, and they had one place to go look for that stuff. I also found that supply teachers in my classroom loved the fact that I had a blog, because I could actually schedule posts to appear at certain times in the day, so that when it was a language block, a blog post about language popped up, and then during math, a new post popped up, etc. So that's another way that you can use it. The most intimidating thing, I think, for teachers is, what do you blog about, right? Who am I to say that I've got anything interesting and exciting happening in my classroom that other people would want to hear about it? The thing is, it doesn't have to be that fancy. So many parents are so thrilled just to learn what their students did today in school, what they can do at home to help them, if there's any homework, and if there's any upcoming events. So that can be in point form. It doesn't have to take more than 3 or 4 minutes to type that out and share it, and they're thrilled. If you can do it every day, awesome. Even if it's once a week, it's probably more communication than is happening in many classrooms right now. I always had a spot on my blog for important links. These are just snapshots of some of the different blogs I've had and different posts that I've used. So I'm going to kind of whip through these, and if there's any questions, definitely feel free to interrupt and ask me. Exemplars that you create with your class. You can take a picture of them, you can scan them, add them to your blog. Learning targets and success criteria. Again, helpful for students and parents at home understanding the work that their students are doing. Rubrics, I have to say that has been one of the things that I got the most commentary from parents on, especially when you do things like I've done here, which is use a tool called Box to embed the rubric so it's actually visible. One of the things you want to think about when blogging is to make everything as accessible as possible. Just the simple fact of having to click on a link will reduce the number of people who look at your blog, who look at that link and follow up on it. So if you've got a rubric and you can post it, definitely go ahead and do that. We've got classroom expectations here. Really fantastic way. If you're using Google Calendar, you can embed that in your blog. And again, the whole point of this is having to do things one time. So you can update your Google Calendar and have it go to, obviously, Google Calendar, but also to your blog. If parents and students subscribe to your Google Calendar, it automatically appears for them on their cell phones and their calendars. Really handy. Yep.
With the Google Calendar, as we use it with other teachers as well.
Yep.
How do we keep that isolated? Because we don't want what other teachers post as in meetings that we have being posted to parents.
So one of the nice things about Google Calendar, and you can see an example of this on the one that I've got here, is that I've actually got 2 calendars added. So I've got a whole school calendar. Those are the events that appear in red. And then I have my class calendar appearing in green. And so I have total control of my class calendar and post that stuff. The school calendar might be the office staff that posts there, or as a lead teacher, etc. I might add things to that calendar, but it's an easy way to differentiate. So you can have total control over that calendar if you'd like.
Right.
Thank you. Review resources, games, reading, materials that you want to have students go to. And I think this is one of the tips. I'm sure I'm going to talk about it later. Instead of driving students, towards a site like Teaching Kids News, have them go exactly to the link that you want to use within Teaching Kids News, because that, again, saves some navigation hassles. Okay, if you are using Moodle or D2L, it can be tricky to find the exact places in there that you want to push students to. So definitely go ahead and find the deep link. Get the big long link and post students or share that link with students instead of saying, okay, go to Moodle and then find our school, then find our class, and then find math, and then find geometry. Go right to that specific geometry lesson or resource. YouTube videos can be embedded, pictures, etc. Parent reminders, target them specifically. All right. Any questions so far on what to blog about? Okay. Lots of ideas. You can do all kinds, and I'm sure you'll come up with more. Before you start blogging, a couple of things to think about. Make sure your administrator knows. So have a conversation with them. Give them access to your blog. Let them see it before you start sharing it with students and parents. And I'd say a good idea is to blog for a couple of weeks as if it was exactly how you were going to do it, but don't tell anybody about it. And then let your administrator see and say, hey, this is how I'm using my classroom blog. I want to share this with parents and students. Is that cool with you? And chances are they go in, they take a look, and they say, awesome. The other thing to think about is student privacy. So that means no pictures, no student names. Student work, I would say no. Now, if you have like exemplars created as a class, or it's a photo taken at a distance, so it's not personally identifiable, there's no names on it, definitely. And the other thing is, don't be afraid to ask parents, right? If you've got some great pictures that you want to share, ask the parent, send them an email, say, hey, I've got this great picture, it's of so-and-so's work, I'd like to post it on the classroom blog. 9 times out of 10, they're going to say, awesome, thank you so much. You take the name off it with, Photoshop or GIMP or whatever program and post it on your blog. But do respect if they say no.
Pictures that don't show their faces, like,
yeah.
Kindergarten, all the building and all the various things. Is that okay?
Yeah, so pictures, basically it has to be non-identifiable. That's the criteria for pictures that you put online. So backs of heads are fine. Hands are great to show in pictures. It's just be careful about how much you share and how identifiable the students are in it. But I encourage you to think about contacting parents and asking, hey, can I share pictures? Get it in writing, or get that email that comes back and says, sure, no problem, just so that you're protected. And let your administrator know as well, so that nothing you do should surprise them. Kind of a key thing. Think about your own privacy and your professional online presence, right? This is going to be a public blog, and you want to represent yourself as a professional. Make sure that anything that's on there you could explain to your students, your colleagues, parents, guardians, your administrator, superintendent, if it came down to it, a lawyer, right? That's the degree to which everything should be, or all of those people should be comfortable with, whatever's on your blog.
Mr. Monahan, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Just wondering, do you start a new blog, or would you suggest starting a new blog for every year or every class, or do you continue on with a standard blog for everybody to use?
What I've done is I've kept the same blog, and the reason I've done that is if you think about resources that are put out by the school, as you communicate things over time, Google search results, you will develop a web presence through your blog and you want your blog to be able to be found. So keeping one URL makes your life a lot simpler. So that's why when you're starting to think about choosing a name for your blog, and specifically the address or URL for your blog, don't have things in it like grade 5, because next year you might be teaching grade 6.
Okay.
Thanks, Eugene.
You're welcome.
So in spite of all of these things that I really believe about blogs, they truly are awesome, but a lot of parents aren't going to take the time to actually type out the URL for a blog and go in and check in every night. So what we need to do is use the magic of RSS. And I don't know what RSS is. I just know that it's magic, that it pushes the content from my blog out over the internet. And then it can be picked up by a whole bunch of other different services. So our responsibility is to find out where our students are at, right? If they're on Facebook, try and get to Facebook. If they're on Twitter, try and get to Twitter. If they're on Tumblr, try and get to Tumblr. Doesn't mean we're all going to be there yet. And the thing is, with RSS and with blogs, they can actually pull your blog into whatever service they want to use. So there's lots of choice there. For your parent community, find out where they're at. Are they on LinkedIn? Are they on Pinterest? How do you get your content there? So it can be effectively, you want it to show up in front of their face when they sign into Facebook, when they sign into LinkedIn, so that they don't have to go and search you out. One of the things that I believe is that your blog shouldn't have a password on it. Passwords are barriers to parents and students being able to access it. If you're not sharing any private or confidential information, there's no need to have a password on there. You want to make it as accessible as possible. Having a password on it prevents things from, like RSS, from working. It's just one more thing that parents have to do that prevents them from seeing what's happening on your blog. So try and stay away from that. A few myths and facts. So Ontario College of Teachers, electronic communication creates new options for extending and enhancing education. The links are there if you'd like to find the specific resources. ETFO says they support the responsible use of social media as an excellent teaching tool. Okay. Use them cautiously and professionally. OSSTF, maintain exemplary professional standards when sending email messages to students, parents, colleagues, and administrators. In the Wired ESB, we're lucky that as long as we're using social media for professional purposes, we are generally allowed to do so. Big myth is that you have to be friends with students on Facebook if you want to allow them to follow you there. You don't necessarily have to do that. You can set up a page. Again, a big one, intimidating thing, because we've all read amazing blog posts from awesome educators who are doing amazing things, and we go, oh, I could never do that. It's, I'd be embarrassed to blog. You know what? We're not blogging to the whole world about, what amazing practices we have in our classroom. Our audience in this case is our students and their families. That's your target audience. So you don't need personal thoughts and reflections there. Just those simple basics of what you did in school today is fantastic. Yeah, posting from your smartphone, quick, easy, and fast. Okay, just facts. If you're on Twitter, your tweets are going to be public. All right, we're going to skip this. It's from another presentation, and we're actually going to jump into making a blog now. So I know I have a link a few pages back here. about where classroom blogs are. I'm just going to get out of here and